Yesterday we started with a new topic, inheritance. This inheritance provides the feature of reusability. When you have class definitions that are identical in certain aspects, you don't have to redefine it or rewrite the same code. There will not be any kind of redundancy. So if something is common between two classes, you can have that content in only one class and you can reuse it by the property of inheritance. We also studied different kinds of inheritance such as single, multi-level, multiple, hierarchical and hybrid inheritance. And we also saw the effect of access specifier when you inherit. So there you mention the keywords private or public. So depending upon that, the visibility of inherited members will be changing. To revisit the same concept in further demonstration, today we will write code for single inheritance with certain member functions, and we are going to derive using the keyword public. Here is one class A, and in the private section it has two variables as member data and some member functions in public section. So here we are going to use set and get method. I know set is not needed once you learn the concept of constructor, but the objective in this exercise is to know which can be accessed in base class and which cannot be in the derived class. So here is one member function that will assign values for these variables. This code is self-explanatory. No need of elaborate description. Apart from that, you can have another function that will display the values. Okay. So this shall be our base class. And then let's write the definition for derived class. I want this to be derived class of A. What is the syntax? To inherit from another class?
Yes ma'am, colon and public A.
Good. Before you start with the definition, just before you begin with opening brace, you need to write class name followed by colon, public and A. So what is the significance of this keyword public? It means that whenever you inherit from class A, if there are any members in public section in A, they will be public in your class as well. Whereas the member data in class A are in private section, so they are not inheritable. It doesn't mean that they are not part of you. It means that they are not accessible at the moment. It's like saying your father has got some valuables in the locker. They will be part of your property, but they are not accessible at the moment. Only when he decides to shift them to public section, you can access them, but right now if you want to access, you have to do so through your father, not directly. That is the meaning. Okay, and in this, let's have some member data. Let there be only one in private section, and in the public section let's write code for a member function that will set the value for z. Another function to get the value of z. Class definitions are ready. Now let's test the member functions by creating the objects first. Here is one object of P. I'll call a function to set the value for z. I told you that though the values x and y are in private section and they are not inheritable, doesn't mean they are not part of object B. By the property of inheritance, they are part of object of derived class, but just that you cannot access them directly, not through your member functions. If at all you want to access them, you want to say set the values or fetch the values, you need to do so using member functions in your base class or in your parent class. This is valid, but you cannot access the value of x and y in member function of class B. Okay, so I can invoke the function set xy, which is being defined in class A. Set xy is present in public section, so it is very much part of your object B. You can access it directly using dot operator. This is not a problem because they are present in public section. So all the values are set, and if you want to display the values, you can call the respective get methods. First display x and y and then display z. Let's test this. So first the control goes for set z and then set xy, and this is the output from respective member functions. Okay, now I know that the object B comprises of 3 variables, among which 2 cannot be accessed directly. But there is a provision to set the values for them and fetch the values through member functions of base class. That is possible, and it is my intention to reduce reduce the number of function calls mentioned in main function. Instead of calling two functions to set the values for x, y, z, can I reduce it to one here and one here? Think about it. With one function call, I should be able to set the values for z as well as x and y, meaning this code plus this code should be displayed at once with a single function call. I want to skip this, and with just one function call I want to execute these two statements plus these two. Is it possible? Can you suggest a way so that I can execute this as well with one function call in the main? Okay, let me give you a hint. When I call this function setz, the control comes here and these two statements get executed. When I am in this function, can I invoke this function? By the virtue of inheritance, this function setxy is also
Yes, ma'am, it is possible.
This function is also member function of class B. So when I am present in this function, I can try calling the function setxy. Don't think that this is present in different class. How can I invoke it? No, it is not member function of an independent class. It is a member function of your base class, so you can have access. It's a member function of B by the virtue of inheritance. Similarly, in order to display the values, I don't want to call two functions. Instead, I want the job to get done with just one function call. So what should be done now? This will be printed. This value of z will be displayed. But I also want the values of x and y to be displayed now. I gave you the solution for one set.
Yes, ma'am. We can call get xy function in get z function.
Correct. So when I am present in get z function, I can call get xy. So here the number of function calls reduces to 2, which was 4 earlier. There is no difference in the output even though we have changed the number of function calls. So it was possible because these functions are member function of derived class by the virtue of inheritance. Though their definition is written in a different class, in base class, you can access them because they are public in nature. Alright? Fine. Now let's see if the object B indeed contains 3 variables or just 1. I told you that since these two are in private section, they are not accessible. However, they are part of object of derived class. Let's check. You can get to know if there is sufficient space for 3 variables by using the function size of b. So if it contains just z, then the output should be 4 bytes, and if it contains x and y along with z, then the output should be 12 bytes. See this last line, it says size of object of type B is 12 bytes, which means that though you cannot access private members in your base class, they are part of your object of derived class. You can access them, but only through the member function of base class. That is the meaning. In this code we have set xy and set z, but the thing is, since you know the concept of constructor, you can avoid the function call for set z as well as set xy. You can avoid even this function call, which is used to set the values for member data. So in place of set method, let us add constructor to this program. In the public section, I write the definition for a constructor whose name is same as that of class name, and in this let's accept 2 values and then use them to assign values to the member data. X equal to A, Y is equal to B. This is a parameterized constructor. And within B, let me write a constructor for one variable. You can take any variable, not an issue. Use it to assign the value for member data in B. Since I have constructor, I can let go of these functions, or even if they are present, you can avoid this function call. Okay. Now here in main function, let me assign values so that they can be passed on to the constructor. First let's check by passing just one value. I am passing the value 62. Let's see to whom will it get assigned among x, y, z. as you can see in the output, the value 62 got assigned to Z, which is part of class B, derived class, whereas X and Y are set to 0. Let's understand this. In the very first statement, you are providing value at the time of creating objects. Memory is allocated first and immediately the control goes to constructor. And here in the constructor, M takes 62 and that gets assigned to Z. And then the control should also go to base class. So here, though you have written parameterized constructor, you have not provided any value. So default values will be assigned when the control goes to 0 argument constructor. That's why you see 0 for X and Y and value 62 for the variable Z. Now you might have a question. I have created object of type B, which is derived class. Why and when did the control go to this 0 argument constructor? So you are curious to know the order of constructors, aren't you? So let's add one line here. Constructor of B is called. So now we will get to know in which order the constructors are called. This statement, this set of statements is the result of getZ method, but prior to that, pay attention to these statements. You haven't created object of type A. All that you have created is just one object which is of type B, a derived class. Though you are creating object of B, it is necessary that the member data in base class are also initialized. It is for this reason the C++ has designed it in such a way, whenever you have a statement to create object of child class, the control will first go to constructor of parent class, meaning base class. So base class constructor is called first, followed by constructor of derived class. Okay, so you need to remember the order of constructors. The constructors are called in the order of inheritance. In case you have multi-level inheritance, say there is class A which is inherited by B and B is inherited by C, then in this case the constructors will be called in the same order, constructor of A followed by B and then constructor of C. The order will always be in the order of inheritance. Order of constructors follows the order of inheritance, starting from base class till the last derived class. Fine. So this is the output when you pass just one value. Now you tell me that you want to make use of this parameterized constructor. you are not content with the default values of 0. You want to assign some non-zero values by making use of parameterized constructor. When there is code to assign explicit values, why not make use of it? So you need to pass 3 values at the time of creating object. So you want this for z, and for x and y you specify some other values. So you want this value for x, this for y, and this for z. Now tell me, with the code that is currently written, will it compile correctly? Definitely the object B has sufficient space to hold 3 integer values. So these can be stored in 3 locations of integer values. But with this code, is it possible?
No, ma'am, because there is no matching for that call. I mean, the function call what you have done.
Correct. So when I try to create object, memory will be allocated, and when the control goes to constructors, the compiler checks, is there a constructor in class B that accepts 3 values? No, there is no match. The search has failed. If you have provided 1 value, fine, but there is no definition for a parameterized constructor that will accept 3 values. So now I need to write definition that accepts 3 values as part of parameterized constructor. And remember that the constructors can be overloaded just as you overload ordinary functions. So I told you that I want the last value to be assigned to z. So I can write it as z equal to q. Fine. What about m and n? Can I assign in this way? X is equal to m and y is equal to n. This will work fine, just as it did in this constructor. What about these two?
Ma'am, as X and Y are private, ma'am, you can't assign.
Very good. See, these x and y, though they are part of object B, they are not directly accessible. They are part of your base class and in private section. So if something is in private section, even in your base class, you cannot access them in your member function or in constructor. To verify that fact, let's quickly compile it. As your friend pointed it out, the compiler says you cannot assign because y and x are private, which are defined in class A. So this is not allowed. So what do I do with these values? I want them to be used for x and y assignment. That's where the concept of base class initialization comes into picture. In this mechanism, you accept values for your own member data as well as private member data of your parent class, and then you write definition of parameterized constructor. You write the definition for all 3 values. Among them, you use 1 for your own member data, which is Z in this case. This is fine, this works, but I cannot write such statements because they are inaccessible. So this is not allowed, and I cannot waste these, because if you just keep the code as it is, it will not lead to any kind of compilation error. However, when you execute the code, only one value is utilized and the two values are wasted, and again x and y have 0 now. So if you want to utilize them, you need to pass them on to class A constructor, and here is the way to implement it. Just before you begin with the opening brace, place a colon followed by base class name and then pair of brackets, and in these brackets you pass the values. You wanted m and n to be assigned to x and y, correct? So you have to provide them to the constructor of base class. You take one among them, and remember, order does not matter. It doesn't mean q is at the last, you have to use only that. No, you could take either m or n for your value z, and you can pass any two to the constructor of your base class. Here I have chosen in this way, q for the z and m and n for x and y. Okay, so here it is the implementation of base class initialization. Syntactically it is correct. Now when I try to see the output, I should be able to see non-zero values. Okay, so now there are no non-zero values. Instead, the values I mentioned in the main function are used to assign to x and y. Z took the last value 62, and these are x and y. Let's revisit the code. We'll try to trace it out once. So in the main, you are creating object of b and providing 3 integer values, and you want the last value for member data of b, and these two for the private variables declared in base class. So whenever you have a statement like this, it is very obvious the compiler expects a parameterized constructor with 3 arguments. That's why I have written here the code for a parameterized constructor that accepts 3 values. Though I have 3, I cannot use them to set them for the private variables x and y. They are not accessible. So what do I do is, I use one of them. In this case, I make use of q and assign it to z, and I am left with 2 values which I intended for x and y. So I pass them on to the constructor of base class, and here is the syntax: colon base class name and pass the values. It looks like any other typical function. Even though it is a constructor, that is also a special function. So you call the constructor by passing m and n, and at this point the control goes to parameterized constructor. M is copied on to A, N to B, and these are used to assign the values for X and Y. This is how object B is created and its values get assigned. I hope this is clear. You can go through this code and note it down, and meanwhile if you have questions, let me know.